Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. He did this by just making one change. Chuck says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/inspired or by clicking on a link below this video. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/inspired or click on a link in the description below to watch the video now. If the legendary Chuck Norris can do this at 81 years old, so can you. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. chuckdefense.com/inspired.
What people don't realize is that they need the truth. And when they don't get truth in their lives, there's a little part of you inside that says, I'm hungry. I need something more than what is being given to me by this society. People go through their lives on autopilot all the time. You wake up, you make breakfast, you go off to work, you do your thing, you belong to the machine for 8 hours, you come home, you do your thing, and you're in your mode, right? And this mode does not usually include thinking outside the box. It doesn't usually include all that stuff you got done with when you were a kid. And now you're an adult and now you're in the zone. People have been constrained in this little reality box. This is your reality. Don't get out of the box. And it doesn't just go for regular folks who have got their 9-to-5 jobs. It goes for the university crowd. Scientists and academicians do not allow themselves or allow each other to go into certain areas. And this is an important element of this topic.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired live stream. It is, I believe, Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. It's Valentine's Day. For those who are celebrating, happy Valentine's Day. Got some technical glitches here in the beginning, but here we are. And my friends, it's a glorious new day. It's a glorious new day to celebrate an emerging new religion that is only dangerous to a very small group of people. I'm going to talk all about this religion today. I thought this clip shared by Iconic that was shared here in kind of the cold opening, I thought was really, really accurate, beautifully done. If you're interested, we love the Ike family, so go over to iconic.com. I think they have a 7-day free trial. Check it out. So we're going to dive a little deeper today into connecting certain dots. So the religion that I think is so dangerous to a tiny, tiny elite is the truth. Literally, it's the word truth that is coming up as a new religion. And why do I say that? Because, unlike ever before, what I've been noticing, especially in the last year, yes, years, but especially last year, is that people from all boxes, whether it's a political box, the conservative box, the liberal box, the Marxist box, or a religious box, or multiple boxes, they're sort of kind of saying, well, hold on a minute. Let me explore this a little deeper. Let me look at this a little closer. And while they're doing it, they're willing to overcome their belief box in the pursuit of truth. And this is exactly what we needed to happen. So I think the current explosion of information out there, yes, of course, there's the mis and disinformation agents that are throwing all this out there. Don't get me wrong. But there's also a manifestation of truth, period. And I think ultimately, if we make it to a preliminary end of this particular road here, we might arrive at really this new religion that is only truth. Where we say, okay, we believed a lot of things in the past, but what is the actual truth? And for that, we need to perhaps agree on one thing, that there is an objective truth. You can have subjective Perceptions, feeling good about something, feeling not so good about something, ready for something, not so ready. Yes, that's all cool. But we need to agree that there's an objective truth, an isness to something, that there is an isness to something that is. It simply is. And there's no way around it. If we can agree on that, then on the pursuit, we can find certain things. And today, we're going to connect a lot of dots, because this is what truth means. Showing that there is a coherent picture, also a coherent problem that we're all facing. And as I said over and over again, that moves us into the solution. Let's look at this here. This was up a little earlier. I thought that's pretty accurate. Here's kind of a little quote here. Has anyone else noticed that we're seeing scandal after scandal, and the next scandal almost makes us forget about the last scandal? Let's not forget. Let's remember every last scandal. This is important because, as I said, we're in this time where we are now really digging and going to the roots of things. So I want to show you something that emerged yesterday on social media. And this was it's not really a meme. It was a reaction, I think. Elon Musk posted this. And as you can see on the left, you see freedom of speech. There's a crossroads. It's binary, right? There's only two. And on the left is Elon's beautiful castle with a huge X on it, meaning X, Twitter. And eventually it's going to turn into the Everything app. On the right, you see all the other social media icons, a dark castle, and it says control. On the left, it says freedom of speech. On the right, it says control. Somebody called him out and said, dude, you're seriously banning accounts for hate speech when you're criticizing Israel. But really, I wanted to look at this meme. So I looked at this meme and I thought, a castle. Why is it a castle? Why did they use two castles for this? I just assumed that it wasn't thoughtless. So I went on and looked at the meanings, the definitions of a castle. Now, the very first definition of a castle is a large fortified building or group of buildings with thick walls, usually dominating the surrounding country. And I thought, how accurate. X or Twitter or the whole sphere of Elon Musk's empire and all the other things that are connected to it is all there to dominate the rest of it, right? So nothing new under the sun. And I just thought there was when I looked this up, I had to laugh. That's why the castle, right? Because if you really want to show something free, why would you, someone who grew up in Europe, and when you go through Germany, you go through Austria, you see all the castles up on a hill. You're very isolated up there. It's a fort. So why would you represent freedom with a castle? That was just interesting in my view. Of course, I think we're all starting to really know what Elon Musk is about. Maybe not who he is. Okay, let me pull this out here. So in order for us, what does this religion of truth entail? It means that you objectively look at the facts that are presented, not put them through a filter as to, I don't want to look at it because this might be bad, or if I don't look at it, it will go away. This is not objective truth-seeking. Truth-seeking means, and this religion of truth, if you will, means that we look in a non-discriminatory way at the facts, the way they present themselves to us. So we can see that developments that are seemingly disconnected in the world are actually one coherent picture. In my view, it was never clearer to see that whether you look at China, whether you look at Africa, whether you look at South America, whether you look at North America, Europe, that the world is moving, or at least the world of the wannabe elites is moving in one particular direction where they want the world to go. It has never been clearer to see, and that's why people from all walks of life can now see it, even if they haven't put in decades into studying it, because it's becoming so obvious. Let me show you a clip here. It is a Mockingbird Media, mainstream media clip, so, take it with a grain of salt, but they're describing something here or showing something here, and I believe they aired this on television for a particular reason.
Have you ever wondered what happened?
It's not that clip, is it? All righty. Well, I think it's
Liu
this.
Hu recently tried to book a flight. He was told he was banned from flying because he's on the list of untrustworthy people. Liu is a journalist who was ordered by a court to apologize for a series of tweets he wrote and was then told his apology was insincere. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. And the list is now getting longer, as every Chinese citizen is being assigned a social credit score, a fluctuating rating based on a range of behaviors. It's believed that community service and buying Chinese-made products can raise your score. Fraud, tax evasion, and smoking in non-smoking areas can drop it. China's growing network of surveillance cameras makes all of this possible.
It can recognize more than 4,000 vehicles.
Xu Li is the CEO of SenseTime, one of China's most successful artificial intelligence companies. It has created smart cameras for the government that can help catch criminals, but also track average citizens.
You can tell whether it is an adult, a child, a male or female.
Ken DeWaskin has studied China's economic and political culture for more than 3 decades. He says how the new scoring system truly works is kept secret and could be easily abused by the government.
How far into people's daily mundane activities does this go?
Well, I think that the government and the people running the plan would like it to go as deeply as possible to determine how to allocate benefits and also how to impact and shape their behavior.
The fear, of course, is that the government may use this social credit scoring system to punish people that it deems not sufficiently loyal to the Communist Party. And trying to clear your name or fight your score is nearly impossible because there is no due process. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Beijing.
So this was a, if you ask me, this was a love letter almost to this system. There was no real criticism of it. There was no lens of, hey, you know how insane this is? And the reason why this was presented in this particular way, because this is part of the soft sell. The soft sell is making, and this is the least egregious consequence probably that they could show in terms of, okay, this was a journalist, he spoke out and he was prevented from flying and doing certain things. I think that a lot of the punishments are far more egregious, right? But they're not showing this. They don't want to show it because we have a, we sort of are on the path here in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere, to the exact same system. And the more chaos we see in the world and the more crime we see and the more of everything we see, the easier it would be to implement this. So they're showing stuff like this on TV to gently, you know, push people in that direction. Say, well, what's so bad about it? Come on. If you have nothing to hide, if you're not doing anything bad, if you're not spreading disinformation, you have nothing to worry about, right? So, of course, it's not as innocent, right? Because here in the Western Hemisphere, this is long started. A unofficial, unregulated social credit score is already in place, has been in place. It's always been in place, but we've seen it over the past few years with deplatforming and debanking. So today, if you deplatform a business from social media, not that it is a business's right to be on social media, but it is a very important piece of their business puzzle. So, okay, you deplatform it, but people and corporations on a very massive scale have been debanked as well, where banks said, listen, you're not doing anything illegal. You're not selling illegal products. You're not, as far as we can tell, you're not, you know, doing tax evasion or money laundering, anything like that, because that we have no problem with, because we do all the money laundering for you if you pay enough. But we're actually debanking you because we don't like what you're saying. At the same time, the government has put in such strict restrictions in most of the Western countries that you can't function without a bank account, and you can't do certain businesses without a bank account, and you can't make payment chains happen without a bank account. So you're literally putting people out of business because of what they're saying. And this isn't even just fringe conspiracy theorists. I'm talking about just, you know, people that have a very conservative view versus people that have a very liberal view. That seems to be okay. Nobody's being debanked for being too liberal because it fits in with the current narrative. Of course, what I'm talking about here, what I have been talking about here, is not a conservative or a liberal problem. It's not Republican or Democrat, or if it's in your nation, because most European nations have far more parties, but it's the same thing. These parties function. They operate in a box, and some are on the outer edge of that box, and some are closer to the middle, but it's still within the box. And so as long as they're in that box, they're all working for the same thing, whether they realize it or not. It's really the people that are outside of the box that are really becoming dangerous. So how is this being implemented in the United States, for example, or worldwide? Let's look at a little clip here that kind of explains the evolution of surveillance and where this is leading to. Let's look at this here together.
The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency is a research and development agency of the United States Department of Defense and is responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the military. DARPA had a program called LifeLog, and its goal was exactly that, to log one's entire life. LifeLog aimed to compile a massive electronic database of every activity and relationship a person engages in. This was to include credit card purchases, websites visited, the content of telephone calls and emails sent and received, faxes, postal mail sent and received, instant messages sent and received, books and magazines read, television viewing habits and radio selections, physical locations recorded by wearable GPS sensors, and even biomedical data captured through wearable sensors. The point of collecting all of this data on everyone was to identify preferences, plans, goals, and markers of intentionality. Another of DARPA's goals for LifeLog had a predictive function. It sought to, quote, find meaningful patterns in the timeline to infer the user's routines, habits, and relationships with other people, organizations, places, and objects, and to exploit these patterns to ease its task. Sounds absolutely terrifying, correct? Well, lucky for us, it was shut down February 4th, 2004, over criticism from civil libertarians concerning the privacy implications of such a system. Interestingly, though, on that exact same day, February 4th, 2004, a small and little-known website at the time launched called Facebook. No, I'm not joking. Not in the slightest. The exact same day that they shut down LifeLog, Facebook started. Lucky for us, though, back in 2020, on Twitter, the official DARPA account came out to reassure people that LifeLog and Facebook have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Even though certain employees of LifeLog went to work at Facebook, it's nothing to worry about. Right. Once you learn all that, it makes you look back at all those news stories that you heard over the years of Facebook selling user information to other companies, and all this stuff seems pretty obvious now. We've been played, ladies and gentlemen.
So, what we're really saying is there's no fundamental difference between the path that the Western world is on and the path that the Eastern world or China or India are on. There's no fundamental difference. There's a difference in the flavor. While we here tend to wave our flags. There you go. Live here. While we're here waving our flags, calling it freedom, and calling it the home of the brave. It's all good, Montana. Hey, it's all good. Freedom rings. There you go. While we're waving our flags here and really, saying it's the land of the brave and home of the land of the free and the home of the brave and whatnot, and we're doing that, we're still walking down the same path. And you go to Central Europe, and they're walking down the same path. Everything is being digitized. Facial recognition everywhere, biometric data gathered everywhere, horrible, cattle-like securities in somebody's being persistent today. That's just how it goes sometimes. We're seeing all this, but it's not really different than China. It's not really different than anything else. And if we can look at the facts, not through an American lens, not through a European lens, not through a Chinese lens, if we can look at the facts for what they are, rather than what we want them to be, we can come to much better conclusions. And so is the surveillance state, is social credit score, is migrants being sent everywhere into nations, like currently over the southern border in America, are all these trends, is the transgender trend, is all this somehow connected? And the answer is yes, everything is connected. And this is what this new religion of truth, when you really follow it, is showing. And this is what we need to show to the people who are now kind of beginning to wake up. We need to show that it all belongs together. It's all one coherent picture. And that for those who are wanting to bring this to the worldwide societies, nations don't matter. Flags don't matter. Cultural differences should be eradicated. All of this is the plan. And so our task in this, if you will, truth community is to stop fighting over belief systems right now and over, over things that are not essential, and focus on these things that allow us to see the actual picture. We have sort of a very clear cut, the battle lines are clearly drawn for those who are paying attention. It's either freedom and sovereignty for the people, or it's control and suppression. I mean, there is no middle ground for this. There is no a little sovereign. And so those people who are team freedom, well, we will have to go all the way with the exploration of everything that's been keeping us from this freedom and how to actually live freely again. And this is not a 1 day, 1 week, 1 month journey. It's not a 1 year journey either. This is a transition, a transformation, and we need to really see things for what they are. And we haven't seen a lot of it yet. Even though we think we've seen it all, there's a lot more to see. I want to show you something. By now, you probably have heard of, the migration crisis in the United States, also, of course, in Europe, but specifically the fact that at least, according to the stats that are floating around, at least 20,000 fighting age males from China have entered the United States over the southern border illegally. It's interesting. It's an interesting fact why this would happen. I mean, among the millions of others who've entered, right? Interesting. But how is this connected to what has happened to a British couple? Let me show you this file. How is this connected to what has happened to a British couple just recently? I'm going to pull up this clip here for you. Hold on. Look at this here.
This letter was from the council, and you got this on the 12th of January. You moved in November, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you got this letter, and just spell out what this letter says.
That letter says that because the property is derelict, that they can compulsory purchase it. If there's any repairs to be done in it, they could take it off the price of the property.
Yeah.
And these properties are for migrants.
It's
what they want these houses for.
Extraordinary, isn't it? And how did you feel when you got a letter? You've moved into your new wonderful home, you settle down, law-abiding citizens, and you get a compulsory purchase order from the council accusing you of occupying a derelict home. How did you feel when you got this?
After paying $200,000 for it, which didn't feel very well.
No, it must.
So let me just clarify, just if you have a hard time acoustically hearing what's going on here. So this couple received a letter by their city council, I believe, and it's a compulsory purchase order. And so they're saying that, I think it was retracted later, but I think it's kind of a trial run where they're going initially for second homes and empty properties that they deem empty. And what they're doing is they're saying, we have the right to buy this from you at market price or whatever, and we will use it to house migrants. Now, let that sink in. It's not, do you want to sell this property to us? No, we will buy it. It's compulsory. And this is, of course, something that was proposed in many different ways. This is what's been tested in the media on the people here in the United States as well, in the big cities like Chicago and New York, with the say, hey, open your home, open your second home, rent it out, we'll buy it from you, or we'll just confiscate it if necessary. So it is incredible that it has gone this far, but it has gone this far. And so now the people can see it. And now, of course, they're starting to connect the dots here, right? And you're saying, hold on a minute. What is this about? Because in the United States, we have an extraordinary amount of homeless veterans, people that have gone to war from Vietnam, maybe even Korea, but from Vietnam all the way up to Afghanistan, Iraq, and the other theaters, that have gone to war, that have experienced some of the most horrific things, that have served their country in the best way they thought they could, followed orders, come back, they're discarded. They're discarded, and they're being thrown into a horrific system that doesn't support them, doesn't honor them. And they're on the streets. So you're going to tell me, and it's because this trend is happening everywhere. It's happening in Germany, it's happening in the UK, it's happening in the United States, it's happening in Canada. It doesn't matter where you look. So you're going to tell me that the American people are going to stand by, or the British people are going to stand by and accept that the government is going to favor migrants coming in over their veterans, over the people who've paid Social Security and taxes for decades? You're going to tell me that the people are going to let it stand? I don't think so. This is what all of this is about. It's about discovering the truth and asking yourself, what am I going to do about it? And when am I going to stop supporting this? And how? These are all important questions. When I talk about the religion of truth, it's not an organized structure. It's not about creating a new altar. The altar of truth is simply something that you decide on in your life and say, I am now ready and willing to look at the truth rather than what I want to believe. Because from that, we can derive solutions. From that, we can derive solutions. This is preposterous. It's crazy. People have worked all their lives. In many instances, when you look at Europe, they have rebuilt, this generation that rebuilt the nations that were destroyed in the wars. You know, they rebuilt the nation. They worked like crazy. They did everything right. They filled out the forms. They followed the orders. They paid their taxes, paid their dues, worked 40, 50 years. Now they have their retirement, the golden years. And now they're being treated like this. Listen, this is not what's going to happen. But we need to come together as a people everywhere in the world, like the farmers do, like the small business owners do, like all the other people do. And they're having an effect. Mainly, they're having an effect on the spirit of other people. They're affecting the spirit positively. And all that really matters is, if you add it all up, it's all one coherent picture. And this is what the New World Order, if you will, or the One World Order, the world government, the transhumanist agenda, it's all one thing. The social credit score, it's all one thing. These are not disconnected trends. And now it's all being shown and amplified in such a way that everyone can see it. So we really, 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 I encourage you, with a positive spirit, with recharged batteries, and with balance, to stay in the fight and help as many people as possible see what's really happening. Not to stir up some sort of violent revolution, because we don't need it. We don't need it. We have the numbers. We don't need it. People just need to come together and say, no more. No more. We're going to go back to some very, very, very common sense things. We don't need to have all this crazy import and export and shipping things tens of thousands of miles across the world with dirty fuel and containers and the trafficking that it involves. We don't need that. We don't need that. Most Central European nations could be totally or almost totally self-sustainable. United States could be completely self-sustainable. But we need to understand what's really going on. We need to bring back our attention to the truth. And so I invite everybody in, whether you identify as liberal or conservative, whether you think these two are so far apart, they're really not. It's just you want to live life this way, and I want to live life that way. That's maybe the greatest difference in that. But if we don't harm each other, there's no problem in that. But we need to come together and understand that both paths are leading down to the same destination. And in the United States, yes, there is a movement. There is an emerging and constantly changing, shifting movement within the Republican Party. I don't see that in the Democrat Party, but I might be blind to it. And I'm not saying that this is the answer, but I see some improvements there. I see some breakaway from the establishment, but I don't see in that breakaway the willingness to go all the way, the willingness to put some hard lines in the sand about yes and no, not just in terms of everyday political policy, but some monumental shift decisions like the AI decisions I keep talking about. We're racing down that path, and we will lose ourselves literally if we don't put some hard lines in the sand. And the only way to get there is truth, my friends. So we need to keep showing the picture. We need to keep showing the picture. I thought it was fairly interesting. I want to show you this last clip here. I thought it was fairly interesting that Tucker Carlson was at the World Government Summit. He's sitting front row. Many have seen it. He's spoken there. And it's basically like a WEF. It's like a World Economic Forum, just it's happening in Dubai. Maybe it has a little more of the Eastern world involved in it. But ultimately, I see it as more of the same. So here's just one little clip of Tucker that I thought was at least interesting. I'm not saying I know where he's coming from. I know people that know him. I know that. I've never talked to him personally. So I don't know where he stands on things. I've heard things. But here's an interesting clip. Let's look at this here together. Let me pull this up for you.
So if you see a nation with awesome power abetting war for its own sake, you have a leadership that has no moral authority, that is illegitimate. And I mean that too. I'm not even referring to any specific region or conflict. I mean generally. And I'm deeply offended by that, deeply. And it's something that I try to express, and I'm often called a traitor for saying that. It's the opposite. I say that because I believe in the United States, and if we allow our leaders to use our power to spread destruction for its own sake, that is shameful. It's a binary, okay? It's a black and white. It's a 0 and a 1. You are either creating or you're destroying. You're improving or you're degrading. And that's how you know whether something is good or bad, whether it's virtuous or evil. If you just judge the fruits. By its fruits, you will know it.
I thought that was actually a great little clip here. I thought what he said is very accurate. No matter where he really stands or whom he really represents, I don't know. I don't know if he's there because he might be Trump's VP pick. I don't know that. People have suggested that. I don't know if that's the best way for Tucker Carlson to go. I don't know all these things. I really don't. What I'm saying is it's interesting, the visibility that he's getting, the path that he's choosing. This is definitely going beyond the role of a journalist in terms of reporting. This is definitely pulling for something. I like what he said here a lot. And so I just think that there is a power at work that is greater than all the ill intentions. And that's the power of the manifestation of truth. And what I mean by that is this is something we as a collective created over years and decades by intending to find out the truth about things. How many of you, be completely honest with me here, how many of you have spent an extraordinary amount of times going down rabbit holes, reading books that people thought you were crazy to read, watching documentaries, reading documents, and studying and studying and studying, sometimes for 12, 16 hours a day? I know you've done it. I know you've been there. Maybe you're still there. Maybe you're still doing that. So what is that? That is an intention to find the truth, to follow the breadcrumbs, sometimes trial and error, but it is this deep inner pull, and the truth is attracting you. And so over years and decades, we have created a collective intention to see the truth. So now this collective intention by the laws put into place by the Creator, the manifestation of truth is happening. And whether these players, bad players, good players, know it or not, they are acting on this manifestation of truth. So they're just saying things that we take. They might have a different intentions, but we turn almost everything into a win now. That's so important. We take it and we turn it into a win. And the win is, oh, that person just said the truth. They didn't mean to, but they did. And this is what we're seeing. This is so important. Please do not underestimate the importance of the times that we live in, unlike anything ever. But what we do with it will matter most. Do we become adults again? Do we take real responsibility? Do we take back the wheel? Because it's the first thing we got to do, take back the wheel. These people at the World Government Summits, at the WEF, everywhere, they think they're at the helm. They think they have dumbed down society enough and manipulated society enough in a bad way that society can't really do much more, right? Now they've seen it isn't working so well, and in panic mode, they're throwing everything at us. So now what do? We don't stop. We don't stop here. We take back the wheel by first taking back the wheel in our own lives, taking full responsibility, then in our families, communities, and then in the bigger picture. And this is how it's done. Take back the wheel, say no to everything that isn't aligned with freedom and sovereignty. It's that simple. Say yes when you mean yes, say no when you mean no. That's real freedom. So please, I've seen a lot of a defeatist attitude in the comment sections, and I know some of it is bot driven, but I know that people are getting tired. Rest, sleep, drink clean water, eat good food, take good care of yourself, exercise, meditate, and pray, because we need you in the fight, on the front lines, staying strong and being a defender of the truth and an amplifier of the truth, because the truth does set us free. It creates the greatest freedom in our lives. It's the only thing that can do that. And we're not at the bottom of the pit yet. There's more to discover, more dots to connect. And with every day, the truth is also extremely empowering. When we know something, rather than believing something, it gives us power. It takes away the doubt. It takes away the fear. Knowing the truth is just, it's the thing. And that's why I said, ultimately, people from all religions, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, all the Christian streams, the Jews, whatever religion you subscribe to, assume that your religion, just like every other religion, was co-opted somewhere along the way, even if it started pure. Just assume that just like anything else in this realm here, it was co-opted, it was diluted, it was changed, it was altered. So we need to put one thing above all these religions, and that is truth. And if you want to, think of it as God, the creator, equals truth. God, the creator, equals truth. Not the Christian God, not the Muslim God, but God, the creator, equals truth. Think about it that way. And that's then easy. And we don't have to fight about what scripture, what this, what that. There's a lot of truth in there. But just like there's a lot of truth in there, essential pieces have been changed. So none of us can be certain that we got pure teachings in anything. And that's why our quest for truth is the most important thing in this era. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for being on X, on Rumble, on YouTube. We simultaneously live stream. We try to accommodate people where they are most comfortable. Please share. Please talk with your family. I know the last years have, a lot of bridges have been burned. It's not lost on me. I know it's been difficult. I know some things have been said and done that seem to be, almost irreparable. But listen, the evolution has happened in some of your family members too. They might be quiet about it. Some of your friends too. Please give it a chance and see if you can have conversations. I can't tell you the amount of people that I see coming around and asking the right questions and going, well, I might have been wrong on this. Let's try to mend some of those relationships. Let's try to rebuild some of those bridges Let's try to find some common ground again before the next great challenge hits us, and there will be a next great challenge. They're not done yet. They're not empty yet. They're throwing everything at us. And the next great challenge, if we can face it in a more united way than the last one, we can probably quell it before it even goes full throttle. I think we can do that. I think we're at the stage where we can. But we got to do it. All right, my friends. Much love. Many blessings. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.